returns to the Crippen house to a surprising discovery. It's been abandoned. Dr. Crippen and Ethel's sudden departure was a great red flag. After all, innocent people seldom flee their homes. Inspector Dew orders 3 more searches of the Crippen residence, scouring it from top to bottom. On the final inspection, detectives discovered loose bricks in the cellar. Beneath them, they find ripped, bloodied pajama bottoms wrapped around a headless, limbless, boneless torso. Though Inspector Dew can't immediately identify the victim, he has a hunch that it's Cora. And the killer? Her husband, Dr. Crippen. Now, it's up to Scotland Yard to track him down. The remains in the pajamas are sent in for analysis and autopsy. In the process, one of Scotland Yard's senior scientific analysts finds something else unusual in the remains. Traces of the drug hyoscine hydrobromide. In modern medicine, hyoscine is sometimes used to treat motion sickness. In the 19th century, it was occasionally used as a sedative, but the drug was only rarely prescribed as it was a strong poison that could be deadly in large amounts. With this terrifying find, Scotland Yard issues a warrant for Dr. Crippen's arrest. Combine that with the fact that Dr. Crippen's wife had been missing for months, and now Dr. Crippen himself is missing, the story quickly becomes headline news. It strikes a chord with Londoners, who are still shocked from Jack the Ripper's killing spree just 20 years prior. And like Jack the Ripper's crimes, this horror soon finds an international audience. With growing attention, Scotland Yard faces great pressure to crack the case. Even Britain's Home Secretary, a young Winston Churchill, offers a £250 reward for the capture of the fugitives. Crippen and Ethel are on equal footing with the most wanted criminals in London, and they have no idea. Floating across the ocean aboard the SS Montrose, they think they've successfully escaped detection. They don't know that just before the ship's departure, 2 Scotland Yard officers told Captain Henry George Kendall to be on the lookout for the suspects. Even more, their faces are plastered on the cover of the Daily Mail. Assuming they're safe, Dr. Crippen and Ethel do little to keep up with their disguises aboard the steamship. While they remain dressed as father and son, they are oddly affectionate with one another and frequently hold hands. And on top of that, Ethel's boy clothes clearly don't fit her body. Captain Kendall notices. He instructs his wireless operator to telegraph the British authorities immediately. The message states, quote, "Strong suspicions that Crippen London cellar murderer and accomplice are among saloon passengers. Mustache taken off, growing beard. Accomplice dressed as boy." Notably, this is the first time wireless telegraphy, or radio telegraphy, is used to track a criminal, bringing even more notoriety to the chase. After receiving the telegram, Inspector Dew boards a White Star liner, the SS Laurentic. It's faster than the SS Montrose, which means Dew will arrive in Canada before Dr. Crippen does. Once there, Canadian authorities bring him to the criminal ship. On July 31st, 1910, as the SS Montrose enters the St. Lawrence River in Quebec, Inspector Dew and his fellow officers come aboard disguised as harbor pilots, the officials who guide ships into port. Meanwhile, Captain Kendall asks Dr. Crippen if he'd like to greet the pilots. Delighted, Dr. Crippen agrees, but he's in for a harsh discovery. When the so-called pilots enter the room, one steps forward and removes his cap. He introduces himself as Chief Inspector Dew of Scotland Yard. After a pause, Dr. Crippen apparently replies, "Thank God the suspense is over." Inspector Dew arrests Crippen and his accomplice Ethel. Within days, Crippen is back in England, awaiting trial for the murder of his wife.
Between vacations, errands, and everyday summer fueling staples, no matter your health, what makes a great pair of Texan?
Dr. Crippen's trial begins in October 1910, 3 months after his arrest on the Montrose. Filled with salacious details and a thrilling search, newspapers describe the tragic tale of an unfaithful wife slain by her bitter husband. Crippens had moved into their house. But a significant piece of evidence from the prosecution seems to disprove this. The pajamas that the human remains were wrapped in matched pajamas that Cora gifted to Dr. Crippen the previous year. To further corroborate this, the clothes manufacturer testifies that the specific pattern found on the fragment was not sold prior to 1908. This means that the remains couldn't have been placed in the house before Dr. Crippen and Cora first moved in 1905. Additional witnesses for the prosecution include several pathologists who shed light on hyoscine found in the corpse. Prior to the murder, Dr. Crippen had purchased significant quantities of the drug from a local chemist. This certainly made it appear as though Crippen hadn't just killed his wife, but had premeditated it. A major sticking point is that the body can't be confirmed as Cora's until one of the prosecution's pathologists gives the remains another look. He finds a mark on the body's abdomen, a scar. It's consistent with scars left over after surgery to remove ovaries. Cora had undergone that very procedure in 1893. It's not a smoking gun, but it's pretty compelling. Ultimately, science can't prove beyond reasonable doubt that the body is Cora's. However, the mounting circumstantial evidence is overwhelming, and during the 4 days of trial, Dr. Crippen has little to add to his defense. On October 22nd, 1910, after only 27 minutes of deliberation, the jury delivers a verdict. They find Dr. Crippen guilty of murdering his wife Cora. He's sentenced to death. Ethel was tried shortly after Dr. Crippen's conviction, but the jury determined she had nothing to do with the murder and sets her free. Dr. Crippen's last request is for a photograph of Ethel and some of her letters to be buried with him in his unmarked grave. The request is granted. On November 23rd, 1910, Holly Harvey Crippen is hanged at the Pentonville prison. After the trial, Londoners put forth many theories as to why and how Dr. Crippen might have killed his wife. With the doctor dead, we'll never know the exact story. Barrister Edward Marshall Hall proposes one theory. He suggests Dr. Crippen gave his wife hyoscine to put her to sleep while he enjoyed a night out with Ethel, but it backfired when Cora died of an overdose. Panicking, he must have tried to break down the corpse and hid her remains in their cellar. Over half a century later, in 1981, several newspapers in Britain published reports that a man named Sir Hugh Reith Rankin met Ethel Leneve in 1930. She supposedly told him that